There we go.
Yeah.
All right. It's awesome. Woohoo. I told Ellen that with 3 past presidents on the phone, we could get this done. we're getting a verification in Sonia's phone, an email to Jerry's iPad, which is in the car. All right, so I think this is a slide that is pretty standard issue. Let's go to the next one. So thanks for hosting us, John, wherever you went.
I'm right here.
Thank you very much.
That's a mess.
Yeah.
I like being incommunicado.
Yeah, that's right. So I thought I would add this slide. I talked to John about it, and I thought since we have a few new folks, welcome. That'd probably be worth talking about Thunderstruck and the place. If you had anything you wanted to share about Thunderstruck and what you guys do here, John?
Oh my gosh. Well, if I talk, I'll just take up my mask. So, Thunderstruck, it's been around for 15 years or more in some form. Brian Hall created it as sort of a hobby, and then got into selling EV kits to sailboats for electrifying sailboats together with dirty diesel engines. On top of that, we're selling quite a few. We sell several a week to mostly local people, but all over the country. And so we have motors, chargers, and we sell some batteries, but mostly not that. And then our partner, Dilithium Design, David Malloy, who's a member here too, I think. He actually was instrumental in helping Ellen and myself start our truck project in 2010 or in 2009. And so that was very, very interesting. He met up with Thunderstruck and started creating battery management systems and charge controlling equipment that has expanded since then. So quite a few of those all over the world. We've sold thousands of units to people, and mostly do-it-yourselfers. Some now of the upscale conversion shops have our products and are putting it in their EV West legacy EV around the country and more. So just right now trying to decide what's next and how to move forward with keeping up with newer products that are out there that are actually kind of exceeding our work in many ways. I'm sure many of them learn from us, but we need to kind of move into a next layer, filling this need.
Yeah. Well, thank you, John. Let's see. One of the other things is everything here is essentially dangerous to you or dangerous to it.
We talked about that.
So
right.
Hands and pockets is this is the When I used to walk on the shop floor in manufacturing, they say, "Oh, we're following the bomb rule now. Hands and pockets." So right, so that's what we're doing. Bathroom's right behind us there. In case something happens, just go out the way you came in. Mike, thanks for providing donuts once again. Mike, is there a tip jar over here? No, still no tip jar after all these years. So thank you, Mike. And then welcome to joining us here.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll go to the next one. So we start off usually in our meetings with who are you and what do you drive? I'm Don Boulomard. I'm the new president of the organization. And let's see, usually in Sebastopol, I drive my bike. I have a Rad Rover and I ride it all over the place. So changed the tires twice now, so I'm pretty happy about that. My new tires are, as near as I can tell, they're motorcycle tires. They are about a 1/4 inch thick, which I need because Sebastopol is bad on bike tires. I put 16 penny nails through the bottom and out the sidewall on my bike so far. So,
oh my God.
And they say there's no construction.
And there's no, and that's right. Yeah, there's no construction. Yeah. Go to you, Sonia, and then we'll go to the fun.
I'm Sonia Carey. This year I'm treasurer of the NBEAA, and I drive a Tesla Model 3. It's now 5 years old, and running fine. I saw a little Twitter thread recently where some guy had like the seats all worn off on his car. I don't know how you wear your seats off on your car. Actually, you probably have to.
Concrete on your butt.
Yeah, you work in construction or something like that. But it's all good.
I'm Jack. I have a 23 Bolt that replaced my 2011 Leaf, which I gave to my daughter. So I'm happy with the new car. I can drive to San Francisco and back without worrying about charging.
Yeah, that's great.
I'm Mike Gould, and still driving my 2011 Leaf. The T-shirt I'm wearing today is older than my car because they gave us these when they were waiting, when you were waiting to get your car on allocation. So I pulled it out
The
today
three blue lights.
because I'm not sure how many more times the car is going to go or the T-shirt's going to go. So
I didn't get one of those.
Do the lights still go up to 3 on your car?
well, they still go up to 3, but
It ain't much.
it's like an hour.
Yeah.
It takes an hour to get up to 3 and an hour to go back to.
Oh, wow.
You're Tyler?
Tyson.
Tyson.
Berg. Yeah, nice to meet you guys. Thanks for having me. Currently, my only electric vehicle is my Specialized Turbo Levo, but I'm actually trading in my gas hog for a Lightning in about 2 weeks. So
Oh, exciting.
Right
Yeah.
on.
I'll have a more fitting vehicle for my industry, and yeah, I'm excited about it.
Cool.
You can come show it up.
They were very surprised when I told them that I wanted to trade in what I have, what I'm getting. But
What do you? What,
I have a Raptor. It's got
oh,
a like very fuel efficient V6 in it, but
yeah.
um,
I think the Lightning will give the Raptor a run for its money, right?
it'll be just as fast,
Yeah,
if
that's what I
not
thought.
faster,
if not faster.
and it'll be much cooler.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm gonna put the wheels I have on my Raptor on the Lightning, so I'm gonna make it like look even cooler. So you'll see, it's coming.
That's awesome.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
My name is Mike, and I drive a 2018 Chevy Volt.
All right. Very good.
Hi, my name is Brad, and I drive a 2004 Honda Civic Hybrid with 189,000 miles on it, so it's so long.
All right.
I'm Tor. I mostly ride my bike around town, but also a 2020 Bolt for those road trips. And getting here.
Good. Yeah. Don?
Yeah, so I currently drive the pickup that Alan and I converted. It's that's an 85 Toyota pickup. It's back on the road. I guess we could call it that.
Yeah.
What's the KWH? Tell us about the motor, how what you did to it. I don't mind.
It's got a Nissan Leaf motor in it now. It started with a Warp 9 DC motor in 2009 when we really started the project, and then been through a few changes. We fit a controller failed on that, and we couldn't get it fixed. So we through the shop here we got a Nissan Leaf motor that we've been using for very inexpensive versions. They're available for like $1,000 on the check. So it's very cool. And we put that in direct drive to the transmission, and now we have a battery pack that's about 30 or 32 kilowatt hours. So the truck will go about 100 miles. If I'm super careful, it's driving super slow. It'll go farther.
Don, you just keep it in first gear the whole time, or do you actually push the clutch in?
Oh, no. You're asking seriously, are you?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Well, typically I don't use first gear because it tends to squeak the tires when I start up, and I just it's a little disconcerting. It's too much torque essentially.
Yeah, let's Brian do that.
Yeah, Brian does that, and I've done that a few times with the truck, but just to have fun. But I don't think it's great for it. So second and third around town, or just second. It'll go 55 in second easily. I have the RPM limited, so because it's a 10,000 RPM motor, and transmission safely. But yeah, it's yeah. So the Leaf motor. So fun.
I'm Jerry. I do have the shirt. I got my 2011 Leaf after losing my other one. And my Leaf outside is now 6 years old, in 2018. It still has all the mileage it had in 2018, which was about 160 miles. But we also drive the Kia EV6, which we don't drive that much. But this year so far, in 10 months, we have 12,000 miles. I'm trying to figure out where the hell are we driving? And that car has been really great. It's one to just get in, go wherever you go. Last weekend, I helped a friend electrify his bike with a kid from Italy, trying to read the instructions which looked nothing like any of the parts that they sent to us.
Were the instructions in English?
It was in English, but a lot of the words I could tell were not translated correctly. Certain sentences were, the pictures were almost black. Everyone says, now look at picture such and such, and then it has a part list in part A, B, C, D, and it says using part 12. So it was a challenge. And, he's now riding the bike, and I told him, don't go. We put it in high speed to test it, and the bike left him. First or second, we just saw it yesterday.
It
It
does.
went up 2,000-foot hill in second, and just climbed up in 0 times. I don't know why I needed to shift gears, because in second gear, it
Yeah.
goes as fast as I want to go.
Yeah, right.
That's worse.
Let's see, Cecilia, I don't know how long we have you. I know you were in trying to break camp there, so maybe you want to go first? Cecilia?
She doesn't.
Maybe not.
Just trying to listen.
Okay, maybe she took a break. Russ, how about you? What are you driving these days?
I'm still waiting for my 2015 Kia Soul to come back with a battery. It's still up in the shop. And I'm waiting for my Aptera.
All right, very good. Linda, how about you?
Still driving my 2022 Bolt. It has not given me any hassle. I don't drive it very much. I haven't done my second maintenance. So they have a maintenance every 15,000 miles, which to my astonishment, I looked at the maintenance schedule on the book and there's no fluid changes. I assume there's gotta be something in the car like air conditioning fluid, but of course, I tease my brother-in-law and thank him for changing my oil every once in a while. I think I'm surprised. I assume at 100,000 miles, it has CV joints, doesn't it? I mean, it's a car, so I don't know. It doesn't seem to have any maintenance on it except tire rotations and safety check. So I'm happy with that.
Just tires.
Tires, and maybe they can check your windshield wipers.
Windshield washer fluid, yeah.
Oh, yeah, and I think they do normally. Most dealers, I take it to the dealership, and most of them will go through those basic things. So
That's it. That's all there is.
They will take your money though. So
Yeah.
oh, I know.
And the cabin air filter.
And the cabin air filter.
Oh, that's true, and they'll go through that. No oil filter, no gas pump. It's surprising.
How about
It's an electric motor, and when I think of electric motors, I think of something rotors, and it's got something wires in it, and it makes it's so much simpler than a combustion engine. So it's hard getting used to that, but the car runs fine.
Yeah. Cecilia, did you make it into the audio side? No, 2 Cecilias and no sound. Caleb.
Hello, sorry, mate.
Hey, Caleb.
Hey, if it's a standard format, I drive an ID4. I live in Southern California.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, very good. And Ellen?
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Ellen. I live in Santa Rosa. I drive a 2017 Chevy Bolt that I love, and we're gonna go up to Oregon this summer in it. So looking forward to that.
All right, very good. All right, Cecilia, if you can hear us. She's on a road trip right now, so I think she's on a road trip, so I knew her comms would be challenged. So we can go to the slides again, Ellen. Awesome. So I don't think this has changed. I went onto the EVA website trying to, I was going to make a slide on membership benefits. And I actually hadn't tested some of the things out. One of them was I think it was a blue card or something. allows you to charge on an app on any device, but I haven't tried it, so. Yeah, something to research there. And then there was also low interest loans for EVs as well. I don't know if they were the same as regular credit union, which gives you, I think, a quarter or half point off for EVs and hybrids. But I'm planning to put a slide in on membership benefits. But the other piece of member news is we need a VP. Otherwise, you're stuck with me. Well, I'm not Alan.
Hey, you look like Alan.
I'm not Alan.
Yeah.
I'm not Alan.
Alan's still getting mail.
Alan is
Various
still getting. That's
organizations.
exactly right. We've got 3 groups, so we can keep going. Everybody else.
I wanted to give on that one slide.
Yep.
Also, we had, I think, 2 or 3 more people wanted to join the
Yes.
club,
Yes.
and they announced that they have cars and they're in the area, and I was hoping they would show up.
Yeah.
And I
Right.
sent them notes back saying,
Right.
hey, show up at the meeting.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. All right. We'll get them. We'll get them next time. 3 Google groups. We talked about this last time. NBEAA club is everybody is. What do they say in the South? All y'all, right?
All y'all. Yeah,
That's all y'all. And then discuss is anything that we want to just pick up as a group and talk about. And then news is news that we get from members. Then the next slide. Go to the next slide. So Cecilia, I'm going to assume that if you can talk, all right, I'm assuming she can't talk. So this,
Wait, she just-
ah,
Hear me now?
there we go.
Yep. Gotcha.
Sorry. All right. Yeah, so at Utah, we had the Earth Day experience. It was like about 20 EVs, a lot of different models. We had Rivian, multiple Rivians, a couple of Teslas, Cybertruck, like a bunch of things, including an Arcimoto as well. And the city had their electric bus there as well. A lot of people had interest in EVs there. Lots of conversations were had. Talked a little bit to people about how they can integrate an EV into their life. I also was interviewed for a radio program in the area, and yeah, I think we can have thinking. I'm sorry, what was that?
Get louder. Very soft.
Oh.
I hear you.
Sorry, is this any better?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. In addition to all the EVs and stuff we had there, I think we could do add a little bit more in the way of having materials to drive people towards joining the club. Dom, do you have anything you want to add?
No, just the talking to all of the people that were EV owners, and there was just so much enthusiasm and excitement for these owners that were coming out, and it was like talking to grandparents about their grandkids or something. These, because a lot of them are not super early adopters like we are.
Yes, I'll second that last point about needing the NBEAA cards or handouts.
Something.
Yeah.
We need
Because at the Santa Rosa birthday was the same situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would be really great to be able to hand something.
Right.
Somebody something.
A business card size thing they can put in their pocket and not
Yeah.
take it out before it goes in the washing
John,
machine.
technical question. Are you connected to the speaker?
No, we
You're
tried
not.
and tried and tried and
Oh, okay.
gave up. Yeah, so we need something to kind of drive membership there to get people to come back, because we had a lot of good discussions there.
Just an idea is, this is my business card, and you can put whatever you want on it. So if you had like a flyer, someone
Yeah.
just taps it with their phone, and then it's on there, and you don't have to waste paper.
Oh, right.
So this is what I use for my card.
Right.
People can scan it, the QR, or just tap on the phone,
Right.
and all my contact goes on there.
Okay.
So it's just better.
What is the tap thing? Is that some kind of Bluetooth or near field or something?
Yeah, it's Bluetooth.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's cool.
But
Would it be Bluetooth or RFID chip
it's
like
it
your
has
credit
both.
cards have?
It has both.
Okay.
Yep. And that way,
That's awesome.
you don't have to print a bunch of stuff that gets outdated.
Yeah. Right.
Wherever you're taking them is up to date all the time.
Yeah. I wanted to get that, because we have this QR code. I wanted to get them on our shirts, but they couldn't print them. They could put a sticker on there, but I felt like stickers would just fail in about two washings, so. Yeah, that's good. That's a good idea. Let's go to the next slide.
I wanted to ask Cecilia, would you be willing to share that interview with the group, or if there's a recording? I'd love to listen to that.
Yeah, I can share the recording.
Okay, awesome. That's great you do that. Okay, next slide.
So simultaneously, the NBEAA did Ukiah and Santa Rosa, and it all worked out. And the picture you see on the right-hand side has John and Ellen with Val the truck. Ken Coker, who was kind of the gatekeeper for the event and doesn't participate in our group as much anymore, had his Arcimoto, so he brought it over. And then we've got Bernie's Tesla Model 3 and Jack's Chevy Bolt EUV. And before Jack arrived, I didn't realize you had the EUV, and I think it was really popular. So what was different from last year to this year is that people actually did pay attention to the cars that were there. Val the truck was still the most popular because it's just so unusual. But people really looked at the Model 3, which I was surprised by, and then they also looked at Jack's EUV pretty closely. And a lot of people walked up and said, "I already have an EV. I just got one that had that pride of ownership."
Right.
Thinking about it like they were their grandkid. And there were a couple of people who had showed up and signed up through the Drive Electric Earth Month website and expected to be able to kind of display their car. So I gave feedback to the city of Santa Rosa that we would really love to have a larger showing area. I think people just love that. And by next spring, if we were to do this again, we should have like an even greater variety. People like to see the different cars and talk to the different owners. So we'll see if we can piggyback on the Earth Day event and do something even bigger, maybe. And thanks to John for helping us arrange the cars at the very beginning, because I think that worked out really well, and we jammed 4 different vehicles in there, which was pretty helpful.
Are we scheduled to do another event with Sonoma Clean Power this year?
We're in talks about it. Yeah, for the fall.
Yeah, for the fall.
Hopefully a larger venue.
Yeah. I'll talk about that in a second. Yeah. On
Yeah.
that very topic.
Yeah, so I think it hit us by surprise that more people are really at that stage where they might want to join the club or know about what the club's
Right.
talking about,
Right.
and have the option of coming by a meeting. Whereas last year, I felt like we were talking with a lot of imminent purchasers who were like, "Tell me the difference between this car and that car."
Right. Right.
And the financing and rebates and things like that. We didn't get as much of that. So I don't know, if interest rates have dampened enthusiasm that way, or if everyone who wanted one got one and we're on to the next wave.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's good. They must have allowed us to do that in Ukiah because cars kept coming. I don't know if it was a sign-up sheet, but we thought we had 15 cars, and then another car would creep in, and then we thought we had 18 cars, another car would creep in. It was a field in Ukiah, and cars ended up being 20 plus cars out there, and a lot of variety. It was really, really cool.
Yeah, we had a white net cast. If there were some flyers out for recruiting people to show their cars.
Yeah, say that again, son. Cecilia.
I said we had some flyers that went out to recruit people to shed their cars.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. It's a different approach there. What else? What's the next one? Okay. So I reached out to Brant Arthur this week, and I think there was a Sonoma Clean Power transportation needs assessment that Sonia did last month or maybe the month before. And they are presenting that to the Community Advisory Committee on the 16th of May. And then they're presenting that same thing to the Sonoma Clean Powers Board of Directors on the 6th of June. So One of their takeaways and a conversation I've had with Brant is getting ready for National Drive Electric Week for September. And one of the conversations has been to have two events, kind of like what we just did, but one at the AEC, that's Energy Center, and then one in Roseland. So because we both have a charter of trying to find more folks, basically from lessons learned from the EV-NORA work to get into a different community than we usually would. So that's something that he's considering. So I think once he gets past this presentation series, he's going to look for some help from us. So looking for volunteers. So let me know via email or text me or something if you want to help participate on, or either attend or whatever. Bring your car to one of these Drive Electric Weeks. I think that's, one of the benefits that I saw in the membership benefits was when we take our personal cars to the Drive Electric Weeks, that's covered by insurance of the organization, of the EVA insurance. So, which I didn't realize. I wasn't sure how that actually works. So I've always kind of kept my keys in my pocket.
Still keep your keys in.
But I still keep my keys in your pocket. That's right. Still always a good idea, right, Mike? But it's true that the organization covers that. They carry insurance for us if we want to take our personal cars out for those events. So, yeah, I wasn't aware of that. So.
I'm curious what kind of coverage that is. Like, are you suggesting theft, or what are you?
No idea. Something that needs to get sorted out.
It would normally be definitely like slip and fall, liability oriented types of things. People would say, I sliced my arm against you.
Or it's like my hand in John's Berg got shot.
Yeah, right, exactly.
I just wasn't sure like how much we needed to list ourselves as additionally insured, et cetera. But as a chapter of the EVA, we're kind of doing official business. We're listing the event on their site, and so I think we're pretty well.
We're covered. Yeah, we're covered.
You seen the Cybertruck videos, like cutting hot dogs?
Oh yeah. People are trying to find out exactly where they get hurt by closing the door on their finger.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did all that with the Model X too.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
With the
yeah.
One thing about the event last year was they didn't block off that street.
They didn't block off 4th Street. Yeah.
And it's, so
yes.
Actually this coming week there's a bike focus thing, but they're blocking off the street on the other end of it.
Okay.
So it's doable.
Right.
And whoever's negotiating
that's an excellent point. Yeah. That's a good point.
Open more space for more cars.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
That block. Yeah.
I think there we had a dozen cars, maybe. That's this picture right here, right? So all we had were cones, but there were a dozen cars or so on that.
On either side.
Between both sides, yeah. And plus City of Santa Rosa's lightning and all that. So what do we have? What's the next one? Okay, so the big one I think of the last 2 weeks was what Tesla did. And Tesla fires. Yeah, right. Supercharger staff. So this was an interesting one that popped up. It seemed seemingly out of nowhere, but I think it's maybe the disruptive and break things that Elon favors. I don't think that anybody in the industry thinks this is a great thing for the industry, though. But from my understanding is that they are undertaking a massive workforce restructuring. At least getting rid of 10%. I've heard room in the 20% range for people to be let go. And sort of the inside scoop I heard from some folks that I know who used to work at Tesla was that Tesla has taken the same sort of strategy that people fire people who don't obviously pass the excellent, necessary, and trustworthy test. And I heard that Rebecca pushed back on that. So she got fired. And everybody that works for her got fired. Yeah.
Loyal.
Yeah.
It's loyal, right? That's a loyalty test, right? Yeah. And so, the rumors are that the charging stations will continue, but you read the other pages in it, and they've stopped the rollout of 4 supercharger locations in New York, and now other people are trying to pick up those lease sites because they're excellently located. They've got the infrastructure for electricity there, so somebody else wants them. From what I've read so far, the automakers don't have any answers from Tesla on NACS implementation. There's nobody there to answer the questions. So what does that mean, right? So you've just got everybody to switch over to NACS. We put a slide, at least I put a slide in here for the last 9 months of where the NACS process was. Everybody is in NACS now. That's their plan.
Don't you think the whole reason for the network discovery was to sell the cars to the competitive edge, and people are going to buy Teslas? All my friends have bought Tesla. I bought a Tesla because
they're great, right? Because they're charging.
So at this point, now that everybody is going to be using the same standard, or supporting the same standard, and all of the manufacturers have access to the code and whatever else is necessary, they're all going to be supporting that as well. So at that point, this part of the Tesla business isn't as profitable. It's going into other parts.
Yeah. I mean, Elon is he's no idiot. He's a little crude, but he's no idiot, and he must have a plan. But all that said, Jerry, I can't imagine that you understand 100% everything you read in a spec. It'd be nice to have somebody on the phone and say, hey, when you said 2.2 volts, is 2.19 okay? Does it really need to be 2.2?
There's 500 people who actually know what that looks like.
And now they're in the wild.
Yeah.
Hey, Brad.
Is that an open standard?
Yeah.
So
It's
the
now,
automakers share it with.
Yeah, it's now the J3400 standard.
The protocol level is still 1772.
Right. The rumors are that, or what he said was he wants to focus on robo-taxis and AI. And there's also some speculation that there was some disagreement. He is a strong anti-Biden human being, right? He and Biden have had some public showdown. So this might be a little bit of I'm taking my football. Okay, there's a lot of underneath the hood things here. So we'll just have to see how this goes.
And most of that's around being anti-union, right?
A lot of that's being anti-union. And I think there was an event where Tesla, who did the most in EVs, was spurned by Biden because of the anti-union stance.
Right.
So.
Right.
Right. So we'll have to watch and see how this goes. Yeah, we'll go to the next slide. So in the opposite news, I don't know if anybody's been watching this, but the governor announced that California had achieved a 10-fold increase in battery storage. And these are at the grid scale, so 10.39 megawatt hours of battery storage. And in that same press release, and I actually put the click here to watch this duck curve. But the duck curve is in many days over the past. This is a week ago. In many days over the past 48 days, the center of the duck has been just green, absolutely green. 40 of the 48 last days, clean energy exceeded the grid demand.
The curious part was this: just a few months ago, 6 months ago, Sony posted an article showing that on this Sunday and one Sunday, that battery storage provided more energy than nuclear in California. Now, we're at the point where battery storage on certain days is providing more energy than everything else.
Right.
Yeah, it's happened really rapidly, and
where does the energy come from? Not just battery
solar.
Yeah, solar, wind, geothermal. I mean, this Calpine thing, this geothermal is a big deal too. I think it's exciting.
That one's schedulable. Geothermal stuff.
Yeah.
How fast can we pump?
Right. So this is kind of a big deal. Now these are at a point in the day. So I think Cal ISO time slices the data 15-minute increments, if I'm not mistaken. So some of these days might have just been 15 days where you had this totally green period of time. But, you know, this is now a year since we passed the threshold of Governor Brown's edict that we'll have 1.5 million cars. We beat that by 2 years. So pay attention. This is happening. This is happening in real time. So
one thing that I thought was curious is that for a while I was tracking carbs regulations and carbs targets and everything else in about 5 or 6 years. Every 2 years they have to do an update on it. And their push was always below what we were achieving. That is the number of EVs, the amount of storage, the amount of solar. In every case, they said, we're going to push to have these things happen without them doing anything. You have regulations say you must have this.
Right. It happened faster.
Yeah.
Yeah, it happened faster. Yeah, you're getting into these tipping point scenarios, right? I think you presented a curve showing the traditional tech rollout of early adopter curve.
Meaning economic tipping points are moving faster than the regulatory frameworks.
Just user adoption and attitude, like, you know, that it goes from early adopter to early majority.
Right.
And it's kind of a snowball effect.
It's kind of a snowball effect. Yeah, it's really good. And then on the same front, solar increase. Yeah, anyway, you can keep going.
Well, this was a piggyback slide that I made. This next one, where what was just measured over the last month doesn't include this 620 megawatt battery storage in Riverside County that's going to come online in the summer. And you know, I got a little confused between megawatts and megawatt hours again, because the prior article was kind of measuring things in megawatt hours, and this was measuring things in megawatts. But it's going to be the largest battery storage site, and you can kind of see if those are Tesla power packs, that there's, I don't know, like 60 or 70 of them or something like that. That picture.
The trailers with leaf,
no, this is not used leaf modules, but I don't know for sure if it's Tesla power packs or not. It didn't say that. It is Calpine that did this one. They've got a couple thousand megawatts in projects across the Western US, I guess. And then I just read this morning that there was another 60 megawatts that just came online in the last 2 weeks in Goleta next to Santa Barbara. And the picture of that one showed about 17 Tesla power packs, and they called it out as Tesla power packs. And so when you compare 17 to whatever size this is, you know, it's not much smaller, but it does kind of speak a little bit to how quickly some of this battery storage is coming online. And that one sitting in Goleta has no solar field near it. And so I don't, you know, I think it would be interesting to learn a little more about, like, do they just kind of grab power off the grid at convenient times, or, you know, what are they doing about how to charge up those batteries?
So Mike's the expert about it. You know, the questions I have on that, it's that megawatts and megawatt hours, which like megawatt hours, correct? Because a lot of the facilities aren't talking about what the power is, yet ultimately the powers will become important as well. So we have to respond to peaks and stuff. But there are contracts that the utilities will sign. It says, hey, I need this amount of storage, and they be responding to that amount of storage. In which case, the power is coming from the utility, and they're doing it on behalf of the utility. Which is one of Clean Power, for instance, when they write an RFP, they write it for here's what the power is we need. By the way, the amount of energy we need is 4 hours at that power rate.
Yeah, I was careful about taking off the press release that they quoted everything as megawatts, but it may be
often wrong.
Yeah.
I'm surprised. I read it too.
We can roll on here, Ellen. Sure, who put this one together?
That was me.
Hey.
On my trip up to Portland, did come across a V4 supercharger site. I was surprised, didn't expect to see it. Those pedestals are much taller than the V3, I think we've recorded before. They seem to be open to cars with CCS if they have the adapter. And although there looks like there's a battery dock in there, it is not available for CCS cars to charge on. Why that is, I'm speculating maybe they need a software update because we do have it active on V3 superchargers. And as reported, I could definitely tell that there's like a little screen there. It's got a little sensor to read the proximity. And looks like the car reader has like a backlit Tesla logo on it. And they're branding it to look more like their car. They're getting rid of any silver or metal metallic looking elements.
To match your car. When you plug in, you'll see silver.
That's cool. I wonder if that Magic Dock works for the Fords and the Rivians, which were the first one, just not everybody else yet. Because I don't think
I think
that's work yet.
I think that some folks have tried it on V3s, but
okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Probably a longer cord.
That 3-foot extra cord, yeah.
Every other car has got the cord on part of the body.
Yeah, right. That's cool.
I put this together because my new favorite car is the Ioniq 6. I haven't sat in one or anything, but I see one regularly in Santa Rosa where I go. And I was like, it kind of looks a little bit like, I think they were trying to make it look like a Model 3 or be like a Model 3 equivalent, but by doing their own thing, it kind of looks a little bit like a Saab or something. And I thought, this is a cute car.
Yeah.
So I went and just looked at it,
Yeah.
and what I'm seeing is, it'd be nice if it came down in price on a used car price range a little bit more than this, but if you could get 4,000 off a used car, I'm seeing there were 2 or 3 for sale right at the different dealerships that were used with like 4,000 miles on them or 9,000 miles on them. And then the 2024s are available as well. But I don't know if you EV6 owners can tell me that probably not much difference between the 2023 and the 2024.
Well, the look on the Ioniq 6, that picture is the new one, right? Not the old one. You're looking down in my cars.
That's the Ioniq 5.
Yeah.
That's the Ioniq 5.
That's the 5?
No, this is the Ioniq, not the EV.
My nephew has rented one to use as an Uber driver. And so keep your eyes open when these things get older and Uber decides to go to the next model, or Hertz, or whoever he's actually getting them from. I think it's Hertz. There'll be a lot on the market. Unfortunately, his first car he tried was a Polestar. And I guess I'll have to keep polite language. It's a bunch of Chinese fecal matter. So, but he loves the well, he doesn't have a Hyundai, he has a Kia, and that's a beautiful car. And so keep your eyes open to these rental places. Usually sell them every year.
Yeah,
that Ioniq
that's a
6
great
has
price.
V2G in it, right?
Yeah, that's a Hyundai. Yeah, that's a.
Yeah, it has V2G in it, and this is a picture of the 2023, which looks exactly like the 2024.
I think it
But
does.
there might have been an older 2022.
No, I was wrong.
Okay.
The sixes all look like that.
Because I hadn't seen this one when we
Yeah.
went shopping.
Yeah,
This one didn't exist.
it didn't exist. Yeah,
Right?
Yeah.
it was brand new for 23, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
it's-
someone
it's-
should go out and get one so we can see it.
Yeah,
Okay, we'll do that.
Yeah.
I want to buy one of the next EV
yeah, beautiful car.
6 or 7 is going to come out. And I have there's the EV9 good on it.
Mm.
I did run into another company that says with the EV6 that they had a charge station.
Wasn't just Quasar?
You get the grid with an EV6. That's what the average. I think you're wrong. There's a lot of press releases that are wrong.
Yeah,
I
right.
signed up with that company.
Okay. Yeah.
Mike promised me to install it.
Did you have something to say, Linda? or no?
I already did. Didn't you hear me, or could you hear
I-
me at all?
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
did, yes.
Okay.
Wasn't sure if you had another thing to share.
yeah. I think there's another one on. Oh, here we go.
Yeah, and to kind of follow up with that, it's perfect, Sonia, that you did your Ioniq 6 there, because I'm going to talk about how Hyundai has partnered with, or they've been partnering with the autonomous driving company called Motional to create this Ioniq 5 robo-taxi that has AI-powered software allowing the vehicle to react in real time. And I was reading that they originally launched this for use in Las Vegas with Uber in 2022, actually. But since then, it's only been with a safety driver, there to intervene in case of any issues. So they haven't actually used it yet as a taxi, fully driverless. But that's really their goal. And so what they've done, or I guess I'll share a little bit more about the car first. It's what's considered a level 4 driverless car, which I wasn't familiar with that before this article, but I guess there are different levels of autonomous driving cars, meaning they're kind of how autonomous they are. So level 4 means fully autonomous in controlled areas. And this car has 30 sensors and cameras, including LiDAR, radar, cameras. A few things that I thought were neat about it is it has redundancies for every system as a backup, including brakes, steering, communication, power. It also has remote vehicle assistance, which I thought was kind of neat. I didn't know if other driverless cars have this. This essentially means that a remote operator can control or can connect to the system and kind of give assistance or guidance for a different path in case of like flooding or, illegal behaviors on the road or something. But anyway, so in March of this year, they took it on a Class C license exam in Las Vegas. And this was with the DMV certified driving examiner. Hold on, I'm gonna mute Cecilia there, I think.
Somebody had to.
Or turn the sound on, yeah.
So, yeah, anyway, but the exciting thing about this is that, yeah, they took it on this Class C license exam. However, it was a simulated driving test, which means it was on a closed course with hazards and traffic. However, when I was watching the video, it did appear that there was like a certain part of the testing that was done in the real, city of Las Vegas with, with a safety driver, and a part of the test that was done on this closed course without a safety driver. So, kind of an interesting exam, but it was with a real DMV driving examiner who I guess, has had like a 25-year-long career, and has failed, I guess, 90% of her students. So she's a very hard, hard grader.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, same criteria as testing a human, speed, lanes change, maneuvers, complete stops, checking for reaction time, asking it to do parallel parking, maintaining the lane in a left turn. So very similar test in a lot of ways. And the cool thing is it passed with a perfect score, not a single mistake. So, and I believe this is the first time any vehicle has ever, the first car to take a driver's test. So kind of neat. But, it still really is in its, pilot program right now in Las Vegas. They are using it right now, but with a safety driver, and are hoping to possibly by the end of this year have it be fully autonomous. However, there was an article I read just the other day that was released saying it has, there's been some delays with kind of releasing the full self-driving version of the car, possibly due to like financial reasons, layoffs, other safety hurdles. But I don't know, I thought overall it was kind of exciting and cool. One question I was wondering is when vehicles become fully autonomous, will they also be in charge autonomously of their own charging? Will they plan their charging and go and find chargers and charge? Anyway, I thought that was kind
You
of
can do it with a with one of those robotics vacuum cleaners, what are those? I can't even remember what they're
Oh
called.
yeah, the Roombas.
But so if there was a map for it to charge, I don't think I'd want it necessarily to go to Lucky next to where I live and charge at that charger. But if it could go to maybe dedicated chargers around town, because I think the best use for this, and I remember I actually read it in a science fiction novel that happens about 100 years from now, but I think that it could have been written for 20 years from now, because their robo taxis went around in a continuous pattern, and when you called it, the one closest to your neighborhood would come in, drop you off at your destination, and then go back into this pattern. And I feel if it was doing that sort of thing, and I think you could do that in Las Vegas, because Las Vegas is a lot of tourists and they're all doing the strip and the properties around the strip. I think that would work where it goes on a continuous path, but when you call it, then the nearest one comes, kind of like what Uber drivers do, but theirs is more random as human beings. And I think that would work for charging also. I thought that science fiction writer should have patented his idea, to be honest.
Yeah.
So
And I
now-
think another point, oh, sorry, go ahead, Jerry.
Driverless cars.
Yeah, the Waymo's and
There's a,
stuff.
there's a
Yeah.
waiting list to get in.
You're waiting line.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember the name of the robo taxi that was in Total Recall. Remember the taxi driver that would turn around and look at you?
Yeah.
One other thing I wanted to mention that I thought made sense to me is that they trained this car in Las Vegas, on the Las Vegas Strip with the hotels and rush hour, and pedestrians in costumes and stuff like that. So I just think that makes sense if you're going to have a robo taxi to really train it in the area that it's going to be driving, because every city is very unique. So that was one thing that kind of made sense to me.
That's cool.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, so
right.
Mike Pane is here from Synergy Solar, and Tyson Berg is here from Greentech Renewables. So full disclosure, Mike installed solar on my house and Jerry's house. I think mine has been up since, and yours too. So you're in good hands, Mike.
Can I stand up here?
Yeah, if whatever you want to do, Mike. I can.
What works best for the presentation?
Yeah, whatever you want to do. Yeah, whatever you're
I
comfortable
should
with.
point out that Mike ended up installing on my house because there was a presentation here at the club. And that's how you.
Oh, from Jeff.
Yeah.
How can we make sure he's on camera, or can't we? That's probably not.
I'm happy to just stay seated too, if that works better.
Actually, if you sit in the seat that Sonia's in, we make Sonia move.
Yeah, we'll do
I
that,
think that's a
Mike.
good idea.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll do that.
Maybe we could
That's
come
been the
together
challenge
and
we've been
hang
trying
on.
to figure out.
Or Dom, you could aim your computer at Mike, maybe? I don't know.
Angle it a little.
And you see right now,
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Well, just to, first I want to thank Dom for inviting me and giving me the opportunity here. Just a little bit about myself. I'm Mike Pane. I'm a co-owner of Synergy Solar and Electrical Systems based in Sebastopol. I know many of you. This is my 21st year in the solar industry here in Sonoma County. Many of you know my former business partner, Jeff Mathias. Jeff and I decided about 5 years ago to install battery storage with all of our solar installations. With a few exceptions, we kind of opened the door to some solar only to get people in between the big NEM deadline. How many people here have solar? Everybody, excellent. How many of you installed systems a while ago before you started electrifying? Yeah.
Wait, what do you mean by electrifying?
Heating an electric car, or moving to a heat pump, or a heat pump hot water heater. Yeah. So how many of you have higher true-ups than you used to have? Yeah. Okay. Excellent. So this is my audience. This is good. So
people.
are you all familiar with net energy metering and kind of how it works? Okay. So one of the things that just happened recently is the ability to expand a previously approved NEM system with a non-export system, and keep the remainder of your legacy NEM period on that system. So that's some exciting advancements for pretty much everybody that's in this room right now. So that was approved, what, a month and a half ago, Tyson, something like that, maybe 2 months ago.
Yep.
They approved 3 configurations, and 2 of the 3 use a newly adopted technology that went into the most recent code called power control systems. It's basically software controls. The one configuration that I think is going to be most successful is to add a sub panel and move some of your larger loads, EV charging, heat pump hot water heater, air conditioner unit, those sorts of things to this sub panel. Add a new solar and energy storage system to that panel. That panel can be a backup setup, or there can be a backup setup as part of the component, but it doesn't need to be. Basically, in that configuration, the sub panel feed, due to the software controls, acts kind of as a one-way valve, where it will let electrons to the sub panel, but no electrons leaving the sub panel. It's definitely a challenge to design that system because we cannot rely on PG&E data anymore because it's just not useful. So we have to do a pretty good job of estimating what those loads are. ESS is pretty, or energy storage system is pretty important, I think, to have in that component, just because there's no way that your loads are going to just be matching the solar bell curve. It's just not going to happen. So I think that's an important part of it. One of the things that happened with net energy metering, everybody's aware of the change that happened back in last year. April 14th of last year, anything that's submitted to the utility after that goes into the new net billing tariff, aka NEM3. The reason that was done was really because of this duck curve and the peak usage. They wanted to force people into energy storage adoption, which I actually agree. So there's perfect segue there. So there's our kind of standard peak, morning usage there in the purple, and our standard kind of south-facing bell curve in the middle of solar production, and then our peak usage in the evening. So, many folks that have solar, most folks leave their home for school or work in the middle of the day when the solar's producing the most. So much of that solar energy gets put on the grid. It actually causes voltage and frequency issues for the grid. Probably speaking to the choir here, you probably all know that. But so that's one of the reasons they wanted to kind of force people to go into storage. The other side is peak pricing. You're all, I'm sure, very aware of peak pricing in this room. The reason they did peak pricing is because they wanted to de-incentivize people to use power during those times. So energy storage for homes really is kind of the answer for both of those equations. If you're using it to limit your peak usage in the evening time, that's going to reduce that peak strain on the grid, which is a win for the grid. And then if you're going to be recharging it the following day with your solar system, that's going to reduce how much of your solar system is being pumped onto the grid. So that it's an answer, much of the answer to the equation on both sides of the equation there. Jeff and I kind of, again, this is my 21st year in the industry. We really love what we do. We wanted to keep doing it, but doing it responsibly, and that's kind of why we decided to pair our systems with energy storage 5+ years ago. So we're a little bit ahead on the curve as far as installing energy storage. Just to talk to you about that kind of future electrification. Again, this group is obviously very aware of it as far as electric vehicles. But the other thing that's happening again is people moving away from fossil fuels for things like heat pump, space conditioning, hot water heating, various appliances, cooking. And it's a great thing, but the grid needs some help with it. And then the other side of that is, of course, sizing systems to make that happen. So nowadays, there's not a new person who I'm speaking to that doesn't have a system. Always, that's the entry conversation is, what have you done in the last year or so? And what do you plan on doing as far as electrifying, changing your usage? We typically have design systems based on a year's worth of energy consumption using PG&E bills, which is a great starting point. And then adding the estimated usage of electric vehicle charging or these various fuel switching things super important. So you don't end up with a system like many people in this room that is no longer meeting your needs. I myself installed my system back in 2013. I had no PG bill for about a decade. It was glorious. I got the Volt that I'm still driving here, and my true up that year was about $2,000. So I expanded my system. I added energy storage and expanded my system, and I basically maxed out what I could do per code and electrically on my home, because I know I'm going to end up with a household of 2 fully electric vehicles as soon as I can talk my wife into or out of the range anxiety conversation. We'll have 2 fully
It
electric
takes
cars.
2 years. That's how long. it took
Oh,
me.
I don't know. I'm on year 5, and it still hasn't happened.
Yeah, 9 years for me.
Yeah. You know, it's crazy. A 50-mile all-electric range, which we almost never tap out here, and still, after living with it for 5 years or so, yeah, she still doesn't want to do it, but that's all right.
Just let her know that EV6 goes 320 miles in town, 290 miles on the highway, and charges up in about 12 minutes.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to get her an EV and let her keep her car, and then she just won't use it, and then finally I'll be like,
Yeah.
it's the only way to do it.
All great ideas.
So the Mother's Day.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, on that, so the other use case is just rolling blackouts and weather-related power shutoffs. Do these new electronic controllers allow you to use your solar and your batteries on those days as well?
Yeah. So good question. So there's many uses for a home storage battery. Some was obviously to help the grid. Some for backup power. Under net billing tariff or NEM3, you really kind of need it even to pay for solar. Solar without energy storage under net billing tariff, NEM3 really kind of doesn't pencil out. It's a dramatic change when you add energy storage. So the intelligence of the systems has just continued to increase. Both from smart functionalities as well as both power and capacity, and footprint of that is all increasing. It's I think that the home storage industry is about where solar was maybe a decade ago, as far as like how rapidly things are coming along and the different offerings. Everybody jumped into the home storage game. I mean, even some of the largest fossil fuel generator companies, came out with their battery storage.
Briggs and Stratton just bought it.
Yeah, so the system we installed for Jerry, a Solomon system, great company, and they got bought out by Shell, which is says a lot as far as like where the industry's going. So some of the things, obviously here in the state of California, they've also changed some of their codes around energy storage and where it can be installed and those sorts of things. So that's always a challenge. But some of the smart controls that many of the systems have are one Storm Guard, or it basically will measure official NOAA weather events. And if you have, so let me back up a little bit. So the 3 main kind of ways you can have a system set up, and this can be changed once the system is commissioned, you can change it. But one is peak usage or peak shaving or savings mode, depending on the manufacturer. And that is where during your peak pricing, you commission the system, you're commissioning it based on that client's rate schedule. So it knows when your peak time is. And if your solar is not meeting the peak demand, your battery will contribute during that time to minimize you having to buy peak power from the utility. My system is an Enphase system. My system actually does something a little bit different in that mode, where I've got a west-facing array at my house, which was great under previous when peak times were at noon, which obviously they got savvy to. It didn't want solar customers to have that much of a generating during peak time, so they moved it most to 4 p.m. But so my system does really well during peak time. So what happens in my system is my battery supplies power to my home, and I spin the meter backwards with my solar. Not all systems act that way, but many do. So then another use case is self-consumption, and that's kind of generically what makes sense under a NEM3 or net billing tariff, which is any time of day your solar is not meeting the load demand of your house, the battery will contribute. So it's just basically trying to be autonomous from the grid as much as possible. And then the last is just full backup. Full backup where it's just keeping trickle charge. You're not using it in any way on a daily basis other than just keeping trickle charge waiting for the grid to go out. If you're using the system, if it's designed as a backup system and you're using the system to either peak shave or self-consume, pretty much most of the offerings out there, the solutions have what's called a backup reserve or a backup buffer, where you will only use X amount of your system on a daily basis. So there is X amount ready for a grid outage. So, right now I have my system to use up to 50% of my battery capacity. So I've got 20 kilowatt hour system. So it will use up to 10 kilowatt hours on a daily basis. We found this out the hard way many years ago when we were first installing these, that a lot of the grid outages happen towards the end of peak time. So, you want to have that reserve. And so worst case scenario, you start that grid outage with X amount to get you going. Obviously, if it happens during the end of a peak time, there's no solar also. So you really are dependent on that energy storage to get you overnight until the morning. So with StormGuard, if it knows that there is official NOAA weather event in your zip code, and you are using your battery to either self-consume or peak shave, it will override your battery settings, charge your battery to 100%, and keep it there, waiting for the grid to possibly go out until that NOAA weather event is officially cleared, and then it will revert your settings automatically back to the way you had it.
Mike, I know that setting is on the side, on the setup. Does it actually work? Because I've never seen it actually do it. I do it manually most of the time.
Yeah, I can't, you'd have to talk to Jeff about Sonnen, bless you. But I'm sure it does. I can tell you that on mine, it works really well.
Okay.
This last 2 days, I couldn't do anything with my system because of the high wind event. I go onto my app and look at my system, and it has a pop-up that says, due to a wind advisory, your system was set to full backup. That's enough.
That's cool.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool. They're getting smarter and smarter. Let's see here. So for you folks that have a system that's no longer meeting your needs, the previously approved expansion under NEM 1 and NEM 2 was basically 10% of the system or 1 kilowatt, which really wasn't designed to expand the system to meet energy increase. It was really designed to replace a failed part. Right. So a lot of people don't get that. If you don't know it, if you just simply expand your system, you lose your grandfathering. So it could be a big deal. If you're under a NEM 1 or NEM 2 system and you have more than 10 years left on your legacy period, you're probably better off keeping it that way or installing one of these non-export systems. It's 20-year total period from the permission to operate from the utility.
But if you did that before this, as a deadline this year, that was okay.
So if you expand, so if you had a NEM 1 system and you expanded it prior to the deadline, a lot of people don't get this, but you would have gone from NEM 1 to NEM 2, but that 20-year period still started from the initial PTO, not the new date.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. And that's what I did for my system. So I've got another, not quite 10 years left.
So I have a system that's like 17 years old that I put in.
Yeah.
And that's serious. I've talked to a few people and they say, well, battery's probably not a good idea for you. Is that what you know?
So what I would say is, generally speaking, if the age of the system is 17 years, you probably want to look at replacing the system and adding a new system completely that comes with most of them at this point, 25-year manufacturer warranty on the module side, 25-year manufacturer warranty on the inverter side. Batteries have up to a 15-year or 6,000 cycle, depending on the manufacturer.
The inverters have a 25-year warranty now?
Yeah, so
wow.
Most microinverter, so I can speak to what we install, which is Enphase microinverters. They've got a 25-year manufacturer warranty, and the modules, most of them have a 25-year warranty. So at this point, you have no warranty, no no labor warranty by the installer. You'd have no manufacturer warranty, and your equipment's towards the end of its kind of useful life. Things have progressed.
It's working fine.
Yeah,
Don't
things-
touch it.
things-
Don't
things-
touch it.
things-
Just
things
leave
have
it alone.
progressed quite a bit since then. You could not touch it, and you could add energy storage, because what's going to happen is you're going to fall into that net billing tariff, and then you spin the meter backwards, and those credits are not very valuable. So
Sure.
your total bill offset over the year is going to change dramatically once that happens. So you could look at adding energy storage. It's just if you're adding energy storage to an older system, it really depends on the components. I mean, that's what it depends.
Mike, when we're starting to go through that, one of our members who's not here, just sent a text message already, was looking at storage. He's got 28 panels on his house, and he's looking at the Tesla storage, especially with major announcement changes on stuff. And he asked me for advice on it. And I started looking at it, and I find he has time of use C. He's all electric house. He's got 28 panels. He's got 2 EVs, and he's running on TOUC. He's looking at batteries. He's thinking, oh, I'll peak shade. And I'm looking, it's 2 cents a kilowatt hour difference in time of use C. And going, why did your installer not tell you, or when you got an EV, why does someone not tell you change your schedule? He didn't know what the schedule was.
Good question. Well, I mean, PG&E doesn't make it easy to understand, and they have their really easy on their website.
Oh, yeah.
Check what's best. And honestly, if you have an existing solar system, especially if you have a solar and energy storage system, that tool is not very accurate. It's been our advice ever since it was available when the EVA rate became available to home storage customers. It was a no-brainer for us. So we always advise our customers, with or without electric vehicles, if we are installing energy storage, to go to the EVA or EV2A now rate schedules. Now the new one is ELEC. And the key, you made the point. I mean, that's the key point, is you just have to look at the spread of kilowatt hour price between peak and off peak. The other side of that equation that a lot of people miss is, depending on the azimuth, the way your solar array is facing and how much it produces during peak, you got to pay attention to that too, because when you spin the meter backwards during peak pricing, you're credited at that greater peak rate. So it's not a simple equation, but generally speaking, most people are going to be benefit with an electric vehicle or with home storage by being on an EV2 or an ELEC rate.
So, like, for those that didn't get under an M 2.0 and are starting from scratch or a new system, what are you seeing that energy storage and solar as an M 3.0 solution looks like?
Yeah, good question. So, I mean, like I said already, under the net billing tariff or NEM3, solar alone really doesn't pencil out. You kind of need home storage to pencil out. The result is that there is a little bit higher upfront cost, but we're still finding a 5 to 8 year payback. And on the shorter end, if your bill is higher, on the higher end, if it's on a lower bill, of course. When you add backup capability, that adds some, because there's some differences between those setups. But what we've found, so it's now been about over a year that I've been designing systems for net billing tariff or NEM3, and what we've found is that there's a sweet spot. If the name of the game is again minimizing spinning the meter backwards. So where you all have probably been taught to use power off peak, do whatever you can outside of your solar window, that kind of thing. Now it's the opposite. It's as much as you can shift your usage during the middle of the day. Folks who are either work from home or are retired are really in a good spot to do that. Again, the monitoring controls and some of the software with the modern systems allows you to do that. At my house, I've got, again, an Enphase system. I can do something called live status, which many electric vehicles have a similar thing. It'll show you with regenerative braking or whatever where the power flow is. That's what my app does. And as soon as my battery is recharged in the morning and my solar outpaces my load, that's when I will plug in my car. That's when I will hit go on laundry or dishwasher or those sorts of things.
What time of day does that tend to be?
This time of year, obviously it depends on the which way your array is facing, how big your battery is, how much you're using on a daily basis. There's a lot of variables. I've got an east-facing array and a west-facing array. So mine starts charging really earlier in the day. So anyway, what we found is spring, fall is the cuspy months, both in production and in consumption. So, you know, and that's roughly 6 months of the year. So if we design a home storage system to accommodate nighttime usage in the spring, fall, and then design the solar system to be able to recharge that usage and cover daytime usage in spring, fall, that's kind of a sweet spot. What that consistently results in is that you're going to be spinning the meter backwards almost not at all spring, fall. You're going to be buying more power than in winter months because you produce less. And in summer months, you're inherently going to be spinning the meter backwards a little bit more. But that's kind of a sweet spot to not give the utility too much of almost free power, not size everything, you know, oversized, but value. So we're finding kind of a 75 to 90% bill offset is also the sweet spot where when we designed your systems, you know, it was 100% because you could, you know, previously we had years worth of consumption, a year's worth of production with the understanding that you're going to produce more than you use in the summer months, spin the meter backwards, make those credits, produce less than you use in the winter months, withdraw those credits, and zero out over the year. Well, that's kind of out the window now with the net billing tariff.
So I'm
So
glad you said 75% because after you put the additional panels on, I'm just about at 75% because I electrified the house. I have 2 electric cars.
Yeah.
The amount of electricity that we consume now is roughly 3-fold what we did before we started shifting over. I did an analysis one day saying the amount of energy that we consume now is roughly 62% less than we did before when we were using fossil fuels. One of the things Justin got me thinking about, and this is the reason I asked for a whole house system, is I've gone off of just peak. So I start the peak and I let the peak run all the way till 10:30 in the morning. So this I can discharge till 10:30 in the morning. And it was Jeff Cypress, the CEO of Snow Clean Power, who guilted me into charge the bloody cars during the day. And so the cars crank on at 10:30 in the morning when I start getting enough yield out of the solar to charge the cars.
yeah.
Jared, when you compare, when you add an EV,
Yeah.
you know, you're not comparing it to basic gas before
No,
to the overall cost. I mean, you maybe.
no, I did.
but that's always so. Like, oh, my bill went up when I left it.
I felt really bad. This is the reason I started the analysis. My wife, we got the true up. The first true up was $600. The next year's true up was $1,100. And I'm looking at this and I'm saying, how much did this all cost? And I actually did do the analysis. I spent this much on gasoline, I spent this much on natural gas, and I multiplied it out. We saved about $1,700 a year.
How many different appliances do you replace with electrics?
Everyone.
But, oh, okay, like dryer or.
The dryer was electric already. We had one gas furnace. We had, we used to have gas water heaters. I still have one, which is on demand that is not used. But now the water heaters are all heat pumps. The house and the studio that we built. In fact, that's the other thing. We added another 600 square feet, conditioned space with another kitchen and everything else. And our bill is at that level. So it's quite a bit.
Those ranges are so much better than gas.
Oh,
Everyone
they
says that
really
they're
are.
not.
Right.
They're amazing.
Like chefs are like, no, I'm never using that. My wife loves it.
Yeah, they're amazing.
My wife used to be a professional
Way
personal
better.
chef, and we bought our old 1962 West County farmhouse. It had a resistive electric range. And when that thing died, she was jumping for joy. I could finally get the gas range, and I talked her into induction. She wouldn't cook on anything else now. It's been it's 6 years.
I've talked to friends about it who said they won't go off of gas. I said, you have got to try the inductive. You'll like it better. It does a better job. It's more adjustable. I'm not a chef, but I can look at it and go, there's a big difference.
Yeah.
I have a 2-year-old and he can stick his hand on it and look at burnt.
Yeah. So real quick, just to kind of not leave, so with this NEM3 design, so you can have a battery set up as backup or just as savings, depending on the home storage solution. And the reason I brought Tyson is because he's got a a much broader view of the solutions than I do. We're pretty limited with what we want to offer. I keep my finger on the pulse, but Tyson knows it better. But so some of the solutions, you don't have to have certain components to have the savings for grid type batteries set up. So and then typically the battery bank can be smaller because you're not holding any for backup use case. So you can just drain it almost 100% every day. So that reduces costs quite a bit compared to a system that's set up for backup. We're not big fans of whole home backup. I think it's usually a better design to not have some of the larger things and things like pools and stuff on the backup system, makes it a little more reliable. So, obviously to do that, there's labor, there's materials. Everybody's probably familiar with what a transfer switch is. You don't need that component with a savings battery. Another really cool thing, so for this group, if you don't know Enphase IQ EV chargers, if you have an Enphase system, they recently, well, it's been out for a while now, they've got a EV charger, doesn't do bidirectional at this point, that one, but it will integrate in your existing system. It's monitoring your load, your solar storage if you have it, and it will charge your car on the rate that excess solar is there. So it will ramp up as the solar goes up. And again, obviously you need to be home and have it plugged in for that to work. So that's an important aspect, but it's a pretty cool function, especially for folks on a net billing tariff.
How much does the station cost?
I think they're going for somewhere around 900
Okay.
for a standard 32 amp.
And then as long as you have IQ inverters and controller.
That's correct.
Okay, doesn't make a difference with the batteries.
That's correct. Yeah. Enphase IQ. We've had a long history with Enphase, kind of beta tested. If you don't know, Enphase was founded here in Petaluma. We've beta tested pretty much everything they've come out with in the last 14 years. I've beta tested all of their home storage batteries on my own home. We've been lucky enough to meet with their executive team many times. We've installed on one of their founders' homes, many of their executives. We went down there to Enphase last Tuesday to meet with their executive team, look at their next two versions of their home storage batteries. And one of the cool things for me was to see their bidirectional charger for the first time. They had it plugged in with a leaf, with solar, with home storage, and they had basically their app that we all have, but on a huge screen, and they did all these tests of now turning the power on, now turning the load on, and watching what happens. And it's definitely an exciting time to be an energy nerd. There's some really cool things coming down the pike. I think V2G, V2B is super exciting. My personal opinion on a vehicle as backup, as sole backup power source, I think is not a great design, because obviously your car needs to be there and have capacity to provide backup. I think it's going to be a great part of the full solution, but it's pretty exciting time. So I
Mike,
think,
was there any on that presentation you got from Enphase? Were any changes in the timeline? It looked like they went from late 24 to early 25 now.
that's exactly right. Yeah, that's what I got to, early 25.
Yeah.
On V2G?
On the B2G.
Yeah,
B2G,
yeah.
B2G.
They bought the company that Caleb and I used to work with.
Clipper Creek?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you probably all know that they bought Clipper Creek, and that's now what's the Enphase IQ TV chargers.
Was there any understanding what the delays have been? And I've been trying to find press releases. I mean, they announced the Ford Connect in 2021. It looks like they just started testing late last year.
Yep. Yeah.
So
I mean, I
I
think
think it's code.
it's a lot of it's the
code,
code
yeah.
regulations. So that was one of my questions: is where's the bottleneck? And
Where's the bottleneck?
and that's it. Is there needs to be some consensus of, okay, we're this configuration or this rating, and the car is that rating, and they can work together. But then still, the auto manufacturer needs to be okay. You can, use up to
Yeah.
40 kilowatt hours or whatever. Like there's all that stuff that's still needing to be worked out.
Got it.
The start part of that, I have to contact PGH. I was talking to them about this too, and they're frustrated too because they want to be able to grid too. Because look at, they've got to balance this stuff. And one of the questions I was going to answer anyway, their frustration was code.
Yeah.
They can't get the code changed fast enough.
Yeah.
And they were probably responsible for what the code looked like in the first place, but they can't get it changed.
So that's it. Yeah, and this is laundry.
Yeah.
So this is, this is the building code. This is not the J3400 standard.
No.
This is not 1772 standard. This is building code.
It's all of it.
It's all of it.
All of it.
It's the vehicle, it's the house.
Yeah, yeah.
UBC.
Yeah.
Got it.
It's all of it. I mean,
It's all of
there's at least those three main things
Got
that all need to
Okay.
come to some consensus. Can I go to the next slide?
Yeah.
So here's just these, I got 4 simple slides. So this is that person who is shifting some of their usage to midday to kind of minimize the exporting of your solar, maximize, self-consumption. Next slide. Thank you. This is another thing that changed. So, for 20 years, we've been designing systems basically looking for the south-facing roofs.
Yeah.
South-facing, as you probably all know, produces the most kilowatt hours over the year. West second, east third, and north last. Nowadays, east-west array is great. That's what this depicts because it flattens the curve and widens it, which allows the home to self-consume it a little bit more. Because again, the name of the game is minimize family meter back rates. If you can flatten the curve and make it wider, it allows your home to self-consume it a little bit more. Another thing that a lot of folks don't think of from a backup use case with a home storage battery, the challenge versus a generator is getting overnight when there's no solar. So if you have an east-facing array, just like my east-facing array charges my battery when the grid is up, when the grid is out, my east-facing array starts charging my battery and powering my home earlier in the day. So east-west is really a great design for a backup use case and a net billing tariff design to spread the usage. Nowadays, I'm finding myself where I would, obviously there's aesthetic concerns to think about too, but instead, even if I could fit the whole array on a south-facing roof, if there's an east or a west, I might sprinkle them on all to maximize that, spread that curve over longer of the day, and just allow the system to self-consume a little bit more. And last slide, please. Thank you. So this is basically, charging your home storage battery in the middle of the day with your solar and discharging it during the peak and night times. That backup reserve, that's the one thing that after we commission a system, we recommend folks kind of pay attention to and move over the year. During fire season, which unfortunately gets longer and longer every year in Sonoma County, and time of inclement weather, I'll have that reserve high. So I'm not using a whole lot on a daily basis, so I can kind of start a grid outage with more power. Right now, I'm using 50% because it's not, we're not fire season, and other than the wind last week, not a whole lot of weather that I need to worry about a grid outage happening. So I think that is all I have. I want to give Tyson some time and to answer questions and speak to you all afterwards. And so the reason I invited Tyson here is he's got a lot of history in our industry. He's very knowledgeable. Tyson leads our local leading distributor here, Greentech Renewables. That's where we buy all of our solar and storage equipment. He's got a really good wide view of the industry as a whole and specifically the offerings. And they just do a great job keeping their partners up to date on what's coming down the pike and keeping things available for us, which has always been a challenge in the solar coaster industry. So, Tyson Berg.
Yeah. Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it. Like I said, my name is Tyson. I've been in the solar space for 18 years in distribution, which is a wild ride. I started as an electrician 22 years ago when I was 14 and started doing electrical and residential solar and commercial solar stuff after college. Got right back into the trades, and I've been in distribution now for 18 years. I'm on the board of CALSA, which is our solar and storage association in California. And I help run the local chapter, which is we meet once a quarter, usually at a brewery or somewhere around town, have about 80 folks that come, mostly contractors. So we are a wholesale distribution company that sells to contractors like Mike. We have roughly 300 customers from the Oregon border to the Golden Gate Bridge out to Sacramento. Greentech started as an electrical distribution company out of Los Angeles. Two brothers bought a defunct ED in the 60s, and now we got into solar in 2009, and we have 111 locations as Greentech, family-owned business across the country. There was 7 years ago when I came from another distributor, we had 22, so the growth has been wild. So residential batteries, like Mike said, we got really heavy into batteries 6 years ago. We weren't really doing batteries at all. It was solar only. So we do electrical, racking, solar, a few components, ground screws for ground mounts. We probably have 1,200 SKUs in our warehouse. If anyone ever wants to come get a tour, I'd love to show you what we do. It's 27,000 square feet right by the airport. And we go every day, 1,000 different directions and do fully kitted solutions for residential homes. And we do commercial as well, but predominantly residential out of that location. You go to the next slide. So how much battery is enough, right? Mike kind of took you through, the recommendations that he has. I see systems now that are residential in the 200, 250 kWh at people's houses. People are going all in. They're offsetting their 600 amp service. They're offsetting 200-300 amp services. Yeah, so people are really like going all, because they want independence. They want full control. They're using span panels, which is 100% load shifting. You can, from your phone, you have 3 columns: must have, must be nice, not really necessary. And you set up your entire home so that when the grid goes down, it'll start shutting off breakers on its own. And you can control them manually, obviously, but so people want more control. I've done that to my home. I went 100% electric 3 years ago. My wife and I, she's a real estate agent. She finds houses. We move into them. We fix them up, do solar and storage, guinea pig the storage that I get as beta tests from all my manufacturers. We live in it for 2 years. We sell it. We do it again. We're on our 17th house. So we've done this a lot, and every one of them has had solar storage. We're selling our house right now, and we just bought a 1960s farmhouse. We're going to live in a trailer with our 2 kids and 3 dogs. It's going to be awesome. But this is a system that I'm going to put in. That is a Solarc bidirectional 15 kWh inverter that does 200 amps of pass through. It has generator compatibility, solar generator and batteries, and those are Discover batteries. It's called an AES tower. I'll probably, when I'm done, have 90 kWh. I'm all about just PG&E being my 4th backup, right? I have a little EU 7000 Honda generator that I put into the mix in case in the winter I ever have an outage, my batteries get down too low. The generator's entire job is to trickle charge the batteries just to get them back up to peak charge. Once there's V2G, I will use the car to do that, and the generator will go away, or it will become the 5th option after the grid. So, my entire job is to make sure that I understand what's going on in the industry. It's wild that we have these massive shows every year, and after like the 18th one, there was 1 or 2 battery guys, right? And then San Diego in January, there was 250 battery manufacturers that came. 250. So everyone that used to be in fossil fuels, all these companies are getting in there, making acquisitions. They're creating, there's a different, every Chinese company has a battery. Not all of them are created equal. You can go to the next slide, please. So what do I look for when I choose vendors? Because that's a lot of what I do, is choosing vendors, making sure it works, putting it on my own home, testing the heck out of it. We live off Bennett Valley Road currently. Last year we had 19 power outages. We have the 500 kVA lines that come through Annandale over to Petaluma. and if the wind blows or a bird touches it, it's off for at least 20 hours. It's terrible, and it's about 800 people that lose power every time. But I have a Franklin currently at my house. I have 30 kWh. We never even know we have power outages. We have 12 kW of solar, 30 kWh of battery, the span panel that does automatically load shedding. As long as I keep, the freezer on in the garage, the internet's on. We have Elon's internet now, which is pretty amazing. So, bankability, what does that mean? I look at financials, I look at their insurance, I look at third-party insurance. I make sure that these companies are going to be around. A lot of people in our space, they just grab the shiny new object and they put it out there, and it'll have massive failures. And I can't put my customers, Mike, and his customers, you guys, through that. So these are the things I do to vet all of these companies. I go really deep.
Tyson, what is third-party insurance battery chemistry? What does that mean?
So third-party insurance, let's see, which line are you looking
The
at?
bottom line on the left under bankability.
Yes.
I think that
Third-party,
It's
Yeah.
my
it was supposed to be.
battery company.
Yep. So a lot of companies will they'll get third-party insurance where if they go out of business, all the installed the batteries they have are protected by someone else.
Somebody else. I
Yeah.
got you. Okay. All right. Thank you.
So, like say the company just says we're not doing this anymore. Is there going to be anything left? Like, who do I call if the battery fails? Is there a warranty? We take care of, as a distributor, we take care of our clients. If it's a company that we've signed up, we always do the right thing. LG Chem, they have a ton of batteries in EVs. They had a terrible run with the residential home power system. I've put at least 6 batteries on credit cards of myself to do the right thing for homeowners because the manufacturer was so slow to react. A year later, I probably got paid back, but like a lot of them were just dying. If you left an off switch on, it was sitting on the home dead and it wasn't working. That's what I love about my company. That's what I love about like what I do is making sure we do the right thing. People are spending 30, 40, 50, 60, $100,000 on this stuff. And I'm the reason that they chose that product. I'm going to make sure that we back it up. And my company stands behind everything that I say and do. So that's what I really appreciate about it.
That actually turns out that the important, I hadn't even noticed it before. My first solar install was 2006. And the company disappeared within 5 or 6 years. I was just visiting a friend in Palo Alto who's got 5 panels not working or not talking back to the system. He can't find the installer. He can't find the company. He doesn't know what to do.
So CALSA, we actually have a fund through the California State Contractors License Board that we put together. There's an email address you can email, and if there's no one around, we have a fund of money that is in place to get a contractor to come out and fix it.
Okay.
So one of the presidents of CALSA, actually, he owns a company called Aztec Solar out of Sacramento. He's the one who put that all together about 15 years ago, and it works because there's been these Zenergy online companies that have sold systems. They never even interconnected them. Then they vanished off the face of the earth. That gives our company, that gives our industry a bad name. And we make sure that stuff gets resolved quickly.
Jerry, I find out my system's not working when I do email from Mike.
That's normally when I find out.
Yeah. Hey, you're down.
And then, just from a battery experience level, is this a 3rd-gen product? Is it end phase? They've done through, bad comms, bad battery cells. They've replaced them all. They've fixed it all. Is it a beta? How many do you have deployed? Like if a company's like, yeah, I want to fly to China, and I'm like, you have literally 11 systems installed. Like, I'm not going to China. Like, that doesn't entice me. Have they experienced the PSPS, right? Like you can have the best data sheet in the world, and if your system doesn't work when the power goes out, it's worthless. So, and is it expandable? Like that's the most important thing to me is like you guys add an extra EV, you add electrified home, you get heat pumps, you want more batteries. Can I add another battery to the system that I'm investing in now? Or if not, what are my options? Next slide, please. Companies we trust. Franklin, they were a Chinese startup 4 years ago. They've deployed, I think now 9,000 units. I've had it on my house for 3 years. It's gone through however many power outages I've had. I've never had an issue with it. They use CATL batteries, which is the most premium EV battery in the market. I really like them. Powerwall just came out. Tesla just came out with their Generation 3 Powerwall. It's not proven yet. It is an inverter built into a battery. So you can AC couple it. You can add it to existing solar systems. But really, Elon and his team invented a product for NEM 3.0 so that if you didn't have solar before and you didn't have batteries before, it's a really cost-effective way to do it because it is a string inverter. It's taking technology back to the 1980s, and instead of microinverters on every panel with panel level monitoring, they're going back to the old like SMA era where you're just doing string level rapid shutdown, string level monitoring, which takes a lot of cost out, but obviously it needs to be proven. They've deployed probably about 15,000 units to distribution. Not to toot my own horn here, but for 4 years, I begged Tesla to become a distributor. And last year, they finally accepted my annoyance. And we are now a Tesla Powerwall distributor. So it's nice to have your enemies closer. Forever, we competed with them 10 or 11 years. And now we have it in our warehouse. And it's really nice to be able to be a part of that. You know, it raised our revenue by adding Tesla by $1 billion. Wow. Crazy.
Can I ask a couple questions about that?
Yes, please.
One is I have a friend who's today down in Morro Bay, and he has the Tesla system. He's got protected loads, and his hot tub's not on a protected load. When the hot tub turns on, the lights in the house dim. So the Tesla system clearly is wired differently than the way my sound system is wired up. That never shows anything like that. Another friend called because he's been looking at this. It's really the price point of this is amazing.
Yeah.
And this is a club member, and he's just using it for battery backup. He already has microinverters. Mm-hmm. Is it inappropriate? But the power was high on it. The price point was amazing, and it seems like they integrated the control system that they have that they run all the power of the house through. Is that one of my other friend's house dims?
The gateway?
Yeah, the gateway.
It must be a gateway issue.
Yeah.
Someone wired it probably incorrectly, unfortunately. It shouldn't be dimming when the hot tub turns on.
Okay.
So there's something, maybe it's on the same breaker. I don't know.
That's a house load thing.
House load thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if he already has microinverters, you're basically paying for a string inverter that you won't use.
Okay.
So it's there no matter what. Eventually they will come out with a Powerwall 3 that does not have that, so you can add additional.
Is the gateway integrated into the power?
It's a separate unit.
It's still a separate unit.
Yeah, the gateway is, yeah.
Can I just say something real quick before you leave Tesla?
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to toot Tyson's horn. If you don't know what that means, that he worked on Tesla to become a distributor. Tesla used to not allow distributors. They were only direct. They didn't have anybody. And what that made was kind of like their cars and other things that availability and support was kind of at the whim of Tesla. So now with Greentech being a distributor, it's a big deal.
What's cool is that we can deploy Powerwalls within minutes, right? You know, we have a bunch of trucks and we can deliver them, and you know, it just where you used to have to buy 3 at a time and pay $300 to get them from some factory in the middle of nowhere. It was, you know, they just weren't set up for success, and now we can really help them with that. Obviously, Enphase series, the new 5Ps are fantastic. That's predominantly what Mike's doing in grid peak demand shaving and backup. The Solarc, which is I'm going to do on once we sell our current home, I'm going to do a very vast battery backup system with those Discover batteries that I showed you. I'm using Solarc just because I want a ton of backup. I want to basically be off the grid. So I'm just going to be the guinea pig for for that system to show people how it works.
I have 30 day supplies of food for you if you want that.
I'm not going that.
Yeah.
I'm not joining the LDS church here. New entrants to watch, Point Guard. These are the Chinese startup that's flying everyone to China. Anchor, I know you guys have seen the little batteries that stick to your phone.
Yeah.
That's Anchor.
Yeah.
They're a $2 billion revenue company.
Yeah.
They do a lot in batteries, and they just came out with a whole home battery solution. We've installed a few betas. We're not going to rush out and try to, make people be the guinea pigs. Schneider's come out with a span-like panel called the Pulse panel, which is pretty amazing, but it still needs to be proven.
What's the price point on this? Actually, how much is the span panel?
I think MSRP is just under $3,000. I mean, so it's coming down in price. They raised almost too much money as a startup. I think they've raised like over $100 million, and they ramped. Arch, the founder, was the Powerwall 1 inventor at Tesla, and saw the need for this, which is amazing. It's just the price point has just been too high. In my opinion, it needs to be about $1,500.
So is it populated with the breakers? Are the breakers separate?
No, it's a smart bus.
Okay,
So instead of smart breakers, you use standard square D breakers. The bus is smart, so it's basically a lighting control panel where you control the breaker via the bus in the back. So it's got relays on all the ports.
That's different than the approach that Eaton's been taking.
Correct.
Schneider.
Those are smart breakers,
Okay.
which I like Span's approach better because smart breakers fail,
Okay.
Right.
whereas a smart bus, it's kind of fail proof, and you're not actually flipping the breaker on and off. You're just stopping the flow of power.
There's a contactor at every load.
Yeah.
It's not electronic, it's a physical breaker. I mean, a physical contact.
It's a CT on the bus. So when you shed that load, the CT stops the flow of power.
But what's the CT?
That's just yeah.
What's
I
that?
thought that was just for the detector. That actually got changed.
Detect the current, but can it control it also?
It can stop the flow of current.
So
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
transformer, not a physical switch.
It's just a relay, yeah.
So I think it's both current transformer to measure and relay for it.
Okay,
Yeah.
so so the contacts in there are designed for multiple cycles as opposed to a fuse.
Correct. Yeah.
How much information does span give you in terms of your energy use?
I'll show you on my phone.
And then the second question is that with all these smart service panels, how much is each one proprietary, or they just, because if one goes out of business, another can service that as they eventually do.
That's what's nice about Span using standardized breakers, just square D Home Depot breakers, is that the CTs are replaceable because they're just standard CTs, and so it is a pretty serviceable item. Like Schneider coming to the market with the thing I like about Schneider's Pulse panel is it has the meter socket built into it, whereas Span is more of like an ancillary. So you pull all of your loads out of your current panel board and put them in the garage, and then that just becomes like a dead front. Whereas the Schneider product, you're doing a main service upgrade, it's the whole pan.
So there's a lot. I've been watching the smart panel space for about a decade. And being Span certified last year after watching about 10 of them for about a decade.
Yeah.
I think Span is by far the leader. They're also well-funded based concepts. So I think they're, for the reasons that Tyson said, they're the best, and that's kind of why I think
and they'll get acquired, right? They'll get rolled up to a publicly traded company. I mean, Schneider's a 120-year-old French conglomerate. The reason that they don't just acquire a Span is because they raise so much dang money, right? Like, if you were to acquire them, it's like a $2 billion valuation. It's kind of hard to, it's kind of hard to make that money back.
So I mean, these smart panels are really interesting because not only is it for people that have solar and are maybe considering adding batteries, you do that, set all this configuration of the service panel in the process.
Yep.
And then for those that are starting from scratch, it makes sense because making compatible and all that stuff as things come along.
Span also has Span Drive, their own proprietary EV charger that integrates into the system. And depending on the solution, both solar and storage, there's different levels of integration. We just installed our first Span panels last week with the new solar and storage system.
It's pretty amazing.
There's some flows about talking about you do everything with 100 amp service. Is that probably not.
You can with a meter collar.
Yeah.
The new meter collar that Tesla came out with got PG&E to approve. If your panel board's tapped out and you want to get solar and EV, you can use meter collars to
The span generally have that, right?
Typically.
You're talking just load, specific load?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of folks in electrification where let's say you can still do all your electrification stuff with 100 amps and demonstrate. So
yeah,
I don't know how necessary it is.
I know that the Span integration with their Span Drive, that one load specifically is monitoring the full load of the house, and it will ramp up and down the EV charging depending on how much is available. So that's similar to what
The collars, the CT basically.
The meter collar, it allows you to, say you have a 100 amp panel and it's maxed out.
Yeah.
And you want to get solar.
Yeah.
You use a meter collar. It basically is panel upgrade avoidance.
What does it actually do?
It's
So it's
like Eaton sells a solar ready panel. All they do is make the bus bigger.
yeah. This is something completely
so
different.
what this does is you basically take your meter out.
Yeah.
You don't. You get people to do it. This collar goes in. It's roughly that feet, and then they come and put their meter on it, and the interconnection of the communications of the whole system is in that meter collar, and that's basically that meter collar is a relay. So it's monitoring your load, your solar and everything still on the bus bar, but it's kind of monitoring the PG&E line.
Okay.
And doing the balance and making you not go over that.
The reason I'm asking the question is when you guys put the whole house monitoring in,
Yeah.
because of the Eaton panel doesn't have enough room to get the CTs on both legs.
Yeah.
Put it on one leg and then the guys had to put it across every lead off of every breaker in order to fit it.
That's still one of the things.
The collar sounds like a better solution. They let you do that.
It's slightly different stuff, but yeah. And CTs, another thing that I saw when I was down at the Fremont last week was they're now having CTs that are rope CTs that are retrograde. So that's the problem with a lot of the CT offerings now is they physically challenges, but now they have these ones that are flexible and
You can go to the next slide. Obviously, you guys know electrification is coming. It's becoming more and more prominent as natural gas gets more expensive. When I get rid of a propane tank, I internally celebrate because, now they charge you if you don't use it. Has anyone experienced that? So if they show up to your house to measure the tank that you haven't used, they should charge you $60.
Service fee.
Yeah. So
It's a convenience fee.
getting off natural gas, exactly.
It's trending.
I thought they were gonna charge you for your natural gas.
You can get rid of it.
They already do.
Yeah, you already do. It's on your bill.
When I get rid of that.
Yeah. SCHIP is going to come back. The self generation incentive program. More monies are going to be put into that pot, which means you get incentivized to get batteries and get money from the state. Obviously, the state's having some financial woes at the moment, but for resiliency and fire protection and fire life safety and health stuff, I mean, that Tesla, I think, did the best job of that over the last 10 years. People were basically getting batteries for free. That will have more funds coming, supposedly in June or July.
Is that still earmarked towards low income?
Right now it is, but they're supposed to have more monies available for everyone. PG&E is going to keep going up. We just saw it's in the news every day, but we've had 50% rate increases. The PUC has pre-planned rate increases.
that have already been approved, regardless of the ones that they keep going back to try to get incremental approvals. The income based just went through 2 days ago.
Yeah.
On the fixed charge just
Yeah,
went through
just went
2
through,
days ago. On
yeah.
Thursday, they approved the fixed charge going to $24 a month for every customer, whether or not you have solar. And then there's some exceptions for low income folks who are on care, $12 to $6 a month.
Yeah, so I pulled the PG&E shareholder stock report and the annual report, and they're talking about 9.5 to 12% CAGR over the next 5 years. So they're going to get that out of our hide somehow, right?
Yep.
And compound annual growth rate.
Yep.
So that's
It used to be on an average of 6.
Yeah, now it's looking at 9.5.
Yeah.
They're still trying to dig out of all the financial messes that they had with all the fires and San Bruno.
But
The question, one question that with everybody getting access to electrification and backups and stuff, people are going to get more the idea, like I am, and to go totally independent.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's PG&E's ability to charge people even when they cut service? Don't they have the
Well,
ability?
they've already done it.
Think about
They did it this week where
No,
they're doing
think
the flat rate.
Huh?
Yeah.
Well,
No, I
they
think,
started by raising the flat rate, and
right.
I mean, I don't think you're gonna be able to cut service completely.
I just heard at one
Paying
point
their
that PG&E had a way of going back on past customers, to make them pay for the investment that PG&E did initially with the whole grid. And maybe I'm totally wrong, but one of these meetings we had, somebody was
No,
talking
that's if
about
you
that.
go to a different service like Snow Clean Power. So there's on your bill, which is Snow Clean Power every month is a preference charge, and it had to do with the fact that the CPUC requires that every power company has to guarantee that they can serve their customers for the next 25 years. So every year they have to report, this is what I have, and the way they do it is by buying futures. So they had to pay for the futures.
Yeah.
Now the customers disappear, they've already paid for the futures, so that's what the preference charge.
Do you have a sense if SGIP is going to be any easier to process? They've traditionally been a slow moving approval process.
You don't want to use you don't want to do it yourself. There's third party
There's
companies that do it.
Oh, others.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you use them, Mike?
Yes, we
Yeah.
do it ourselves. We did the first couple. Jeff did the first few for us.
Terrible.
And it was a nightmare. And we started using third parties. Now there's a new one actually that Tyson introduced us to.
No, the SGIP process.
Oh, yeah.
The paperwork.
Yeah. And it's there's a couple good reasons to go with these third parties. Is they're kind of more in the know directly with the SGIP program, but they also have tools to kind of pre-check your eligibility, because the other thing that's happened with SGIP over the years is they're just constantly changing the eligibility requirements, income,
Giving false hope
location.
to people
Yeah,
that
it's
they
not
don't get it.
false hope for people. So these third party programs, this new one that I built specifically, can kind of look at your income, look at your, you have to give them information, but they'll pre-qualify and tell you what, what it's like.
But you as a contractor, you're feeling more confident that you can actually build that rebate into your proposals.
I'm not there yet.
You're like, well, you might get this money kind of thing.
Yeah, we've not gone after SGIP for many years. We went after it.
Go to the next slide. I forget if there is one or not.
I think that was it. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
So the moral of the story here, and Mike went into this a lot, and obviously I'm just a distributor, but the goal is to make a plan, right? Maybe you don't want to spend a bunch of money on it now, but come up with a plan that gets you to the end result, right? Change one appliance at a time. Start with your water heater. There's money out there for heat pump water heaters from a rebate perspective. Just slowly get off natural gas and add more solar. Said your solar system for 17 years, like maybe just keep it and add an additional system that you can build on as that one wanes, right? Just come up with a plan that makes sense. And for me, now that we're going to be back into remodeling a house, it's going to be a 100% electric house again. So we have a blank slate. The retrofit stuff can get expensive, but I've introduced a company called Balto Energy to the group of contractors that we have. And Balto's entire job is to model electrification for homes, to give you a path to have enough solar, enough batteries. So that's gonna be a tool that Mike will have into the future. The very beginning of June, we're gonna have a kind of all hands on deck meeting with them at our office in Santa Rosa. So Mike's gonna have that as a tool in his quiver after that meeting, which will be really good. Any questions? I know that I talked a lot, but
When you do your
Yeah.
remodels, do you change the building as well? And one of the things I did in my house was I added 2.5 inches from on the outside, which at this point is in Title 24 for any new construction.
yeah,
And I thought, hey, I did great. And I visited a friend in Europe, and their walls are 18 inches thick.
Yeah.
And so when you talked about the space heating, and I had heat pumps put in, the impact in the winter, yeah, I can pull down the battery. But I don't pull it down below running out. I always make it through the peak period.
Yeah.
Without that, but without the insulation, what's that good?
I do spray foam insulation.
Okay.
On this one, I'm going to have very high voltage ceilings, and so I'm not going to have a bunch of blown in attic stuff. I want foam this thick.
I'll put it on the outside.
On the outside, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, insulation is really important. I mean, obviously, you want to build a home that's passive, that heats and cools itself, so that you don't have to use so much power. We're going to take a lot of that into consideration when we're putting windows in it. We have a 1,200 square foot farmhouse that we're going to turn into, kind of our forever home. We're sick of moving, so we're doing this one more time, and then, someday I'll retire and spend time in Montana and Mexico is my plan, but we'll see. I got to get there.
So I have
Okay,
a question
so-
about incrementally working through some of the steps, because I've done a bunch of the projects already, but I still have a few to go. Is there a way to kind of think about which ones are more important to do first, second, third, or anything like that?
I think it's really,
versus new range.
it depends on which ones are consuming the most, natural gas and power from your bill, and which ones make you uncomfortable, right? I mean, if you're going to change your HVAC system, and do you have air conditioning currently?
Yeah, we've got a mini split, and we've got a heat pump for water heater. So
Is that gas or is it electric?
it's
electric.
it's like
Okay. Okay.
it's a new heat pump, but it's like we need a new range and we need a second mini split.
Yep.
But we also don't have battery backup around well, and so
Yeah.
it's kind of like,
What are your windows like?
they're great.
One of the things that's changed, you said, well, we obviously, since that's what we do with West County a lot. The challenge with batteries is often the power to do well. So that's one of the big things that's been changing in the home storage is increasing power.
Yeah.
So
The surge.
Enphase just doubled between their last version and this new current 5P version. They doubled their power output a lot to deal
So
with
is that what my
wells.
well
things like that. Yeah, it's on the power side. Yeah. So those things are a lot more doable with batteries these days.
Kind of switched about virtual power plant stuff that
So-
Sunrun and other companies have done.
Hey, before we go, so we're a bit over time right now,
Yeah.
so I'm going to end the Zoom call, and I think we can do all these other questions as follow up with you guys. We'll stay as long as you want, but
all of them will end up getting
I'm-
the full recording.
I'm going to go, and I'm going to take
Oh,
my
you gotta
computer
go.
with me.
Yeah.
I allow 2 hours for a 2 hour meeting. That's just how I am. So, you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. All right,
So-
thanks, guys. Yeah.
You were asking about VPPs?
All right, take
Yeah,
care,
I mean,
guys.
different utilities that dabbles in it that
Yeah.
are